All right, so Tommy, you are a car broker, car consultant. What are you? Tell me what you do here in the car market.
Y- Yeah, it's a little unique because car brokers are is kind of a way to describe it, but car brokers normally have a relationship with dealerships. They get paid from the dealership, they get paid by the consultant or by the client. For me, I'm a personal car buying advocate, so I actually work for only the client. The client pays me, and I only represent them. So I don't have relationships with dealerships. I don't have a dealership I call and say, "Hey, I need a car." I actually negotiate just straight as if I'm the consumer for each one of my clients that pays.
So I like to say that I'm following the car market. I get to see. I'm boots on the ground, seeing what the
Mhm.
car market is doing from these car dealer auctions. I feel like you're in a similar position because you're negotiating with these different manufacturers through their dealers each and every day. So what is your temperature on the car market right now, and what things do you see are really happening from the ground level?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think the biggest thing that we've seen over the last year is the new car market has started to shake up where I would say almost every single new car is highly negotiable. I always say 7 to 10% is a good discount to be achieving when a lot of dealerships still think MSRP is the game. Uh, Inventory is starting to increase even with Toyota, Lexus, Honda. The only cars that I'm not seeing crazy discounts on are like super rare, talking about 911s, Raptor Rs, things along those lines. But every single car, even if one dealership doesn't say it's negotiable, almost you go down the street, the other dealership will give you 10% off. You just have to be able to play multiple different markets. But I'd say that's the biggest thing. The used car market is definitely still lingering. Seems like I've had a lot of deals. Like I just did a RAV4 deal last week where I was able to get a brand new RAV4 cheaper than one that was 2 years old. And I couldn't get that used car dealership to move at all. But the new car dealership, they were moving because they need to move units. So I think that's probably the most interesting part.
And are you finding? I'm sure you are, but what brands are you seeing that are moving more? I know that we're seeing days of inventory at like Stellantis that's stacking up more than you'll say like a Toyota. What brands stick out to you that you're able to negotiate a little bit more on versus some of the more maybe sought after brands?
Yeah, I don't. It's almost easier to answer which ones are more of a pain to deal. But to answer the original question, Mazdas are highly negotiable right now.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, and if it's American, it's negotiable. Stellantis is going absolutely crazy. They're trying to lower MSRPs at this point just to get people to buy their cars. They have, I mean, some of their vehicles have almost a year lag time. Um, I mean, above and beyond that, Toyota, I mean, Toyota is becoming more and more negotiable. I would say if you're buying like a RAV4, you're buying any Corolla or Camry, anything along those lines, it's almost the same as Mazda and American products. But the second you're getting into the hybrid market or let's just say the hybrid market, then you're starting to run into issues where that negotiability or that availability is getting tougher. Probably the toughest vehicles to negotiate on are going to be hybrids right now. Any like Porsche as a brand would be pretty tough to negotiate on. Kias and Hyundais are still pretty stubborn, even though inventory is starting to stack. I know I'm answering the opposite side of the question, but I think it's easier
Right.
that way. Hyundais and Kias, like you might be able to get like 2 grand off of one and consider it a win. Last year's models, you can get bigger discounts, but for the most part, almost every car is pretty highly negotiable. Even, I mean, not to the levels of Stellantis, but uh, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. So just to give some kind of scale or whatever, how many deals are you working within the course of like a week? You can even stretch it out to a month. How many deals are you trying to move through in whatever time span you want to talk about?
Yeah, so for my client base, we're normally doing as a business anywhere between 50 to 100 deals a month. It all depends on the month. On a weekly basis. We do have one employee that negotiates deals under me as well. So his goal is 15 and mine's 15. So we're trying to get to about 50 or sorry 25 to 30 a week is the goal. Right now, there's a little bit of a waiting period for the service itself. So there's about a 3 week waiting period. So the only thing really holding back business is just the amount of deals we can take, which is a great problem to have. But people really don't love dealing with the dealerships. There's still a lot of games that are being played, and I think that really speaks volumes of why the business is where it's at because people just don't want to play games and they just want a more transparent process.
And do you feel like because we've had all these extra fees, all these dealer adjustments in the last 3 years, do you feel like it's pushed a lot of consumers to want to go the route of hiring a broker, a consultant,
Mhm.
instead of having to deal with these dealers directly because they feel like when they're going onto the dealer lot, they're just going to get fleeced by all these add-ons that they're trying to get off of them?
Yeah, I say it pretty well. Negotiation is a game of chess. I try not to take emotions into the side of it. I think the second you do that, you make bad decisions, even if, I think a dealerships are trying to make profit. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, just like there's nothing inherently wrong with consumers wanting to save money. All of that being said, I truly believe anybody can get a good deal on a car. The reason why you should hire a broker or a consultant is because you value your time, your energy, and your anxiety more than anything else. I don't want, and that's something I pride myself on. I don't want anybody ever feeling they have to hire somebody to negotiate a car deal. There are so many online resources. I mean, you have some great sources. I have social media. I don't want anybody ever hiring me because they feel like they're desperate to get a good deal. People should hire somebody to save time. That's the big value that I add to somebody. I don't want anybody to think that I can save you thousands of dollars more than what the other consumers can. But the increased fees are what's causing the problem. My industry shouldn't exist. It's insane that people want to spend $60,000 and they have to hire somebody to have an enjoyable experience. But in an ideal world, dealerships start being more transparent. They start charging people fair prices, and my business goes under. And I can sleep easy at night knowing that happened, because this process should be more enjoyable. And if I'm I don't want to call it cannon fodder, but if I lose my company because of that, I'm totally fine with that, because I felt like I made an impact on this industry.
That's interesting because, I mean, one thing that I really talk about a lot is transparency and the lack of transparency in the car market. And that's why my YouTube channel probably exists, was because the car market is not transparent at all. And same thing with you, and why you've been such a online sensation, and why your company is thriving is because people know that this market is not transparent at all, and they need someone like you to come in and talk for them, because you know the backside of the market, or a backside of the deal, so they feel like they know that they're at least getting the deal they should get, and maybe not a good deal in this market, but the deal that they should get. I wanted to step back and just say, okay, what's the process look like? If I come to you, I don't want to deal with, I would rather get hit in the face with a rubber hammer than have to go negotiate for this car at this dealership. I come to you, I want to get a good deal on a car. What's the process look like? What's the intro to me being partnered with you to try to figure this out?
Mhm.
What does the whole process look like from the consumer end?
Yeah, yeah. So, I pride myself in being transparent. I talk a lot of it on my videos. I have all my pricing online, but I don't allow anybody to pay until they've had a consultation. I believe that, like I said, I strongly believe that my service is meant to save people time, energy, and anxiety. And I reject people all the time that just say they're here to save money, because if you just want to save that money, you'll save $1,000 by not hiring me. So
Okay.
the consultations first. We do a consultation. I sit down for 30 minutes, and we really decide if you're a good fit. Sometimes that consultation is just me giving you free advice and me saying, hey, I don't think I'm a good fit. Let me give you advice to move along the way. Other times it's actually me saying, I think we're a good fit. Let's go on. Let's move forward. And then once you pay, there's normally a little bit of a lag time. We're hoping to get that lag time down right now, but it's about 3 weeks currently. Uh, Throughout that process, you get some videos sent to you about like what to expect throughout the process. So like one of the things that we do a little bit different is you get a customer profile page. Like one of the things that people really like about my process is I negotiate a lot of our deals live. So not only do I negotiate your deal live, but I also have a profile page that you can watch every single dealership I'm talking to. You can actually see all the communication, all the text, all the emails. You can see all the numbers we've gotten through. So you're going to get that entire process, and you'll see in real time what deals we're getting, where we started, where we ended, and you can decide what is the best dealership to work with. After we decide what deal is the best, we then would actually have all the paperwork remotely signed, if possible. If not, we'll have all the dealership pre-print the paperwork. You'll walk into a dealership, you'll sign paperwork, you'll leave. Another unique thing about our experience is I don't negotiate as a broker or as Tomi, the negotiator. I negotiate as Tomi, a person buying a car, and then I pass it over to the consumer, which normally means we can get a little bit better of a deal that way, because brokers don't normally get the world's best deal. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they get incredible deals, but for the most part, it's normally just a mid-range deal that they're getting for their clients.
Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Sunday, your new partner in achieving a lush, healthy lawn without the hassle. These nutrient pouches are a game changer. Sunday's formula works with nature, using powerful ingredients backed by cutting-edge plant science. They're free from harsh chemicals, so you can trust what you're putting in your lawn. Ordering is simple and customized just for your lawn. Plus, Sunday's ingredients are plant-friendly and designed with your family's safety in mind. With Sunday, you are in control. It's DIY lawn care made easy, so you can achieve professional results without the hefty price tag. As someone who loves having a beautiful lawn, it's like having a personal lawn care assistant right at your fingertips. Ready to try Sunday on your lawn? Use Car Questions 25 for 25% off your first custom lawn plan. Check the description down below for more details. And say hello to a hassle-free lawn with Sunday. The main reason why I wanted to talk to you, or at least the reason how I found you, is my wife came across one of your videos where you're negotiating. I think is when with a Mazda salesman. I think that's what it was.
Sales manager.
And
Let's talk about that. That was a sales manager.
Manager. Yeah. So it was ridiculous how condescending this dude was and how insulting he was through the whole process. And what was very funny to me is that it almost was like he was saying, okay, well, Tommy, well, it looks like we can't do business. And it looked like he was trying to shut down the call. And then he would immediately just open it back up with, well, what do you think we should do for you? And is this a sales tactic that you see a lot where they act like, okay, they don't want your business, and then they pull you right back in to try to get your business again?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the reason I put it was actually funny because I almost didn't put this video online. Me and my brother debated on it because my brother helps me with, like, just gives me advice. He said, I don't think anybody's going to watch a 23-minute video of just a blank screen and a negotiation and end up now it's over 100,000 views, which is incredible. But when it comes down to tactics like this, I really do say it all the time in my TikToks and my YouTube, is the negotiation is a game of chess. One side knows how to play. And in this move, what he's essentially doing is hoping you fold by saying, okay, I already have a good deal. Okay, wait, you know what? I'm walking away. It's almost like I don't want your business. And that's why if you watch that, I just stay quiet. I don't say, okay, have a nice day. Or I might agree with him. Okay, maybe it doesn't make sense. And he wants that car deal more than I want to buy it. I know as a consumer, I have plenty of options out there. There's 7 dealerships in Phoenix that we could buy from. I'm not worried about having to pick his dealership. He needs to earn my business. I don't need to earn his.
So what are some of the crazy, I won't say crazy, what are some of the tactics that you see quite often other than them trying to act like they don't want your business and then come back? But what are some of the other things that you see that you can share with my audience when they're going to the table to negotiate that you just regularly see that seems ridiculous, but it's just a common thing in a commonplace in the car market?
Yeah, so the biggest right now, and I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, Brandon, was the fees. Fees are absurd right now, and dealerships, what they're doing is they're advertising low prices and then making that money back up in fees that are mandatory. Now, what I've learned is if you go in store to negotiate, those fees almost never get moved because you have no leverage. But the second you negotiate online, you start to have more leverage, and they're willing to take these fees off to get you in the door. So that's the biggest thing. Also, you have to be really wary on used cars, especially on third-party websites. 90% of people that are shopping for used cars are using third-party websites, Car Edge, Auto Trader, Car Gurus, anything, cars.com. And with those, these dealerships will advertise low prices. Especially what they'll do is they'll advertise a price when you put $3,000 down. So like if you go to their website and actually click on it, it'll say $25,000. And right below it, it'll say price includes $3,000 down, which is the most absurd tactic that I have ever seen. And I have a few videos. It's like, imagine buying a TV from Best Buy for $1,000 and they say it's actually $900. But when you put $100 down, it's $800. Like it just like, that's not how pricing works, but that's the method that people are doing. I mean, the other thing is just not getting numbers written down. There's so many bait and switches that are happening. A dealership promises one thing. If you don't get it in writing and go into the dealership, just expect for them to start changing or back coursing. Even if they do get into writing, don't be surprised if they try to backtrack. I just did a deal last night on a Toyota Corolla. It was a 2023. We agreed to 19 grand on like one with like 2,000 miles. It was a really good deal. But the second the client went to the dealership, she took pictures of the paperwork to verify. They upped the price by $500. That's why I'm always saying just double check it, look it over. Ended up fixing it. They fixed it immediately, but it was just something they tried to pull off, which, dealerships are going to try to make profit wherever they can. That's a little shady.
So what's your best advice then for a consumer that is doing something similar to what you're doing, but not using a broker? And if they're not wanting to do the legwork to go to a bunch of different dealerships, they want to do like what you do and negotiate over the phone before they even go there. What's getting the out the door price? Do you need to get a quote, an email? What's the best thing for them to do?
Yeah, so I always say negotiate online and over the phone is your best friends because competition will always drive that price down. So what I normally say is contact, if depending how big of a town is, contact 3 to 4 dealerships. I normally go right on their website. Once you put an internet lead in on a website. So when you go to a dealership website, there's normally like an I'm interested in this car option. Once you
Hmm.
do that, you become an internet customer. And those customers actually just get better pricing because statistically, you have to give them better pricing just to get them in the door. And you'll see this time and time again. If it's a fun experiment, if you ever go to a dealership, go look at a used car, ask them for the price, then leave and go on, or just go on your phone and look at it. I bet you 9 out of 10 times the price was cheaper online. They just don't add if they'll ask you the question, have you looked on our website online? And the reason they're doing that is to see what pricing they give you, which is insane. So contact 3 or 4 dealerships, say that you're interested, and then I normally recommend negotiating all via text and email. I do it on the phone calls because it's more entertaining. Uh, and it can be a little bit more efficient. But if you do it on a phone call, a salesperson can very easily determine if you know what you're talking about or and if you don't. And if they don't, they normally stand pretty still. If you do this all via text and email, then it's much easier for you to kind of create or calm your thoughts, say, okay, what should I say next here? How do I respond to this? You don't have that time on a phone call. So I always say just do it via text and email. Just tell them you want the best out the door number. Tell them you're shopping multiple dealerships. But the most important thing, say you're buying today or tomorrow. Nobody wants a window shopper. And online buyers, the vibe they get off to the dealership is they're just wasting people's time. If you tell them you're buying today or tomorrow, they're more likely to take you seriously.
Yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit because I have a used car dealership, and
Mhm.
what I tell my sales staff is, okay, we typically don't negotiate anyway. We try to price our cars as cheaply as
Mhm.
we can anyway. But there will be some cars that if we've had a little bit longer, we'll negotiate. If there's something that a buyer will bring to us that's wrong with the car, we'll negotiate because of that. But I tell them that okay, over the phone we're not negotiating. Do you find
Mhm.
dealerships in the new realm that have that similar type of tactic? Because with us, I feel like someone that's calling and not coming to look at the car and test drive or whatever, then they're probably not a serious buyer, and I'm not negotiating with someone who is not a serious buyer. Do you have other dealerships that take that kind of approach?
Yeah, so I would say about 20% of dealerships as a whole take that approach where they don't negotiate. So you have to understand that part. This methodology works really well with new cars because you can say you've driven a new car. With used cars, there's a lot of ways to combat it.
Right.
The older the used car, the harder it is to negotiate online because they can easily throw, well, you don't even know the condition of this car. What if you look at it? But if it's a 2022, 2023, you can normally get them to start moving online. But used car market is definitely tougher. And like I said, about 20% of dealerships just will not negotiate online. It's their policy. You have to go in store. I normally avoid those dealerships. My philosophy is any dealership that makes it difficult to do business online is going to be make it difficult in store. That being said, I haven't shopped at your dealership, so I don't know. But
Well, yeah,
uh,
I would assume somebody's probably not going to pay you whatever your rates are to come buy a $2,500 car, $2,500 Ford Taurus from me. So, yeah.
that's fair. That's true. That's true.
So when you're going into these negotiations, when you're throwing out your first number, does the customer set the line of really what they want to pay for the car, or are you just going in it trying to get the best deal possible for your customer? How does that arrangement of price, what a customer is willing to pay, how does that come up whenever you're talking to your customer before you go into negotiations?
Well, if this was a year ago, I would have told you my goal would be to get the best possible price and call it a day. I've learned this is one of the most important things with the consult because I get to set proper expectations. And again, my goal with service is to save you time, energy, and anxiety. And if I preach that to my client base all the time, when I give them a deal, the clients that I'm working with feel very confident they're getting the best possible deal. If you're trying to penny pinch and do everything along those lines, I always say in reality, if you're willing to put, my clients are trying to get a deal that is good but also efficient. So, I'll use an example. I negotiated a BMW X1 deal. I got 11% off the other day. I had one of my viewers that watched my show. They told me they got 12% off. That's super exciting, but they worked an extra week to get an extra 1% off. My client doesn't care about that few $100. They care about getting a great deal. But for me to spend an extra week just to save an extra 1% wouldn't have been worth it for them, wouldn't have been worth it for us. So, you know, you can always get a better deal if you're willing to do it on your own and put more and more time. Dealerships will keep falling as time goes on. But um, I set the expectation that my goal is to save X amount when we do that consultation call. So with a used car, for example, I'm going to say something along the lines of, my goal is to find you the best possible car at the best possible price. There are some dealerships that just price their car super aggressively. I've done a lot of research, and they might only be $300 or $400 off on the price. There's a world where a dealership is $5,000 overpriced, and I have to discount the car $5,000. But on a used car, my goal is to get you the best possible car at the best possible price. So if your goal is to see me to negotiate $5,000 off a car, doesn't make sense when one car was just priced properly. With new cars, I normally set a pretty good expectation. 7 to 10% is what I almost tell all my clients. I'm doing a Raptor R deal right now, and that one I told him $15,000 to $20,000 over MSRP is considered a great deal. So, and he's ecstatic if he can get that, which we already have. We're trying to get a little lower, but that's a whole different story. Some cars are crazy right now.
So whenever you're going into these negotiations, how do you find the number to lead off with? So when you're if you're going to say like a Stellantis deal, or somebody wants a Ram 1500, where do you pull your numbers from? Because I mean, we know we've seen like some of these Ram 1500s, they're like 25-30% off of MSRP because these dealerships just want to get rid of them. It seems like you have to stay up with the market to know which brands are really hurting right now. So how do you get your first number depending on whichever brand you're dealing with?
So with our process, which is going to be a little more drawn out, but if you want to put the effort in, you can. We always start off by saying the same thing. We're looking for the best out the door price, buying today or tomorrow, shopping the competition. And then once we get that price, we shop that price around continuously until we get the best possible deal. And the market will actually set what a good price is. The general rule of thumb is 7 to 10% off MSRP without rebates, without any money, cashback money. That's 7 to 10% as a dealer discount. Most dealerships don't own that. Like, even if you look at those Ram deals, most of that's rebates. Ram's actually rebating the car, which is causing it. Most dealerships aren't actually discounting a vehicle 25% out of their own pocket. The dealership's eating some of that. So the best rule of thumb is just have the market set it, ask for the best out the door price, take that price, shop it all around until you get the best deal. Once nobody will match it, it means you have a good deal. But 7 to 10% off MSRP before rebates is a rule of thumb if you want to kind of fast track the process.
And that's across all brands, doesn't matter. Or do you stretch that number when you're looking at days of inventory versus a brand that doesn't have a lot of days of inventory? How do you gauge that?
Great question. So, like, for example, like Hyundai and Kia are on the lower end of that spectrum because they're a brand that doesn't have as much markup. So they might be 5 to 7%, and that's just me just knowing that inventory really well. If it's any cars that are older, high demand, or a year older. So like we just did a Nautilus deal yesterday, 2023. We got 16% off, or sorry, 16 grand off MSRP, which was 22%. So we got with that Lincoln deal, we got 16 grand off, which was 22% off MSRP. That was something we never would have known if we didn't shop the price around. So if you're ever uncertain of what the discount is, just shop different people because competition will always drive that price down. I'll tell you that I never expected us to get 16 grand off a one-year-old Nautilus. I would have expected maybe 11%, 12%, but even I get shocked by the market. And the only way you can really determine that is to keep shopping it until somebody's giving you a crazy price. And once they do, that's the one you jump on.
Do you ever look at like days supply of inventory? I mean, not as far as brand goes, but at specific dealerships, are you looking for the oldest one that they have sitting on the lot? Do you ever take that in consideration, knowing that, okay, this is maybe one that they really want to get off their floor plan right now?
Yeah, with new cars, it's not as important. Obviously, there's floor plan that's involved with the whole process, but with new cars, they're just trying to move units. And there's a certain one you want. Normally, if you get stuck in negotiation, you can ask them and you can look for the oldest unit. But from what I've seen, at least on new cars, I'm not seeing a crazy different of movement. Most dealerships just have a hard, fast rule of what they're willing to lose on a car, and that's the maximum they're willing to lose. After that, they're just going to hold still. So like my dealership that I used to work at was $2 grand. We wouldn't lose any more than $2 grand on any car deal, no matter how old it is. And we might go to like 2,300 on something that was like a year old, but you're only saving a few $100 going that way versus you're not going to save thousands going that route. At least in my personal opinion, based on what I've seen, you just have to find the dealership that has the biggest discount leverage that they're willing to give.
All right, so I want you to pull out your crystal ball. So you've been working this market for however long you've been working it. You know that prices are better now than they were 6 months ago. You know the prices 6 months ago were better than they were a year ago. where do you see? Oh, let's stay on the new side, because I think that's more of your expertise. On the
Yep.
new side, what do you see happening in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, as far as incentives, rebates? What do you think these manufacturers have to do to move metal, or if they have to do anything?
Oh, crystal ball. That's interesting. So, I mean, obviously, Stellantis is just going to. I really don't know. I think what Jeep needs to do, and Stellantis as a whole, I think people are so upset with interest rates right now that the biggest thing they need to do, and I think they're going to catch on because other brands are doing it, is incentivize interest rates over anything else. 0% is a really powerful tool when people are seeing 6 and 7% interest rates, and I think people would quote unquote overpay for a car to have a lower rate. And you saw Mazda do it. They did it very, very well. During Toyota had some record sales during December when they were doing it. They were going really low interest rates. Now they're back to a little bit higher. But incentivizing interest rates make the world of a difference compared to just rebate. So I think that's going to be what we're going to see a lot more moving into summers, lower interest rates as the rates stay around that 7% token. Now, above and beyond that, I think cars are just going to get more and more negotiable. I think the new car market has crashed, and I don't think it's going to get much crazier, but I think it's going to get crazier for, like, for example, hybrids that are pretty stubborn to move. I think they're going to start getting more negotiable. EVs have already crashed to a bottom dollar. Nobody's buying them. Nobody's touching them. Those are going to keep falling down. But I think all gas cars are basically where they need to be. 7 to 10% off was pre-pandemic levels for a good negotiator. I don't see them getting much lower than that. I think the manufacturers are going to have to step in and start giving rebates above and beyond that. But I think the new car market's pretty healthy where it's at. The used car market, I think, and you could talk about that as well. I think that market's very much due to crash. Vroom went out of business, and I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or two, Carvana or CarMax either severely cutting down their business or going out of business altogether, just due to the amount of inventory they're trying to buy and just going bankrupt at that point. But that would be my predictive or crystal ball moment that in the next 2 years, one of those two go out of business.
Yeah, Carvana I can get on board with, just because they're still losing money, and I mean their stock price is going up. I get those comments all the time, but it's an element of the market. It's an element of short squeeze. That's things working in the stock market that does not equate to what they're actually doing in their business. CarMax will be just fine. Their balance sheet's fine. They have good management. I don't agree with everything they do as far as their pricing models, but CarMax is not going to go out of business in my estimation. But Carvana, we could have a conversation about that. But Tomi, where can everyone find you? What kind of things do you want to push out there?
Yeah. So I'm on TikTok and YouTube. You can type in delivered DELIVRD without the E at the end. That's on. We have TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. We post all the deals that we negotiate on Instagram. So if you want to see what kind of deal that you could potentially get, jump on Instagram. You'll see we do post one basically every day. Above and beyond that, my website, if you want to look at the services, again, saving you time more than anything else, is delivered2.me. Again, without that E at the end. So,
and we'll put all the links down in the description. But you just send them to me. We'll throw them down there.
Of course.
Make sure you check him out. Check his YouTube channel out, and I'll put a link to that video that my wife found to actually show me what he was doing in these negotiations. It's crazy. You need to go listen to it. It's absolutely crazy. Tomi, thank you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to Tomi's channel, and like this video.
Hey, thank you, Brandon.